Coming up next on the Inherited
building
Podcast.
your personal brand is the first step to like trying to establish a connection with the brand.
It matters sometimes who you're pouring into, right?
Yes.
And it matters who's pouring into you from being in the same background or not. But a white person may not know their struggle or having a hustle could be totally different from coming from a black neighborhood.
What's going to make me different? Yeah. Well, did I engage with them on social media first a little bit? Have they seen my name pop up 3 or 4 times? Have I slid up in their DMs to have a little conversation? Okay, we'll slide on up in there.
Building a legacy, so watch how you step to me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chillin', man. Building a legacy, so watch how you step to me. You know it's inherited, ain't no comparison, stacking up guaranteed. Moving so militant, consistent and disciplined. Getting that paper and stacking it up, no time for no chillin', man.
Yo, what's going on? It's Sir Gates back with another episode of the Inherited Podcast. Hope y'all doing blessed today. Thank y'all for watching and streaming and wherever you get your podcast. And today, I have another special guest in the building, but I'm gonna let her introduce herself and do the honor. So, how you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing really, really good. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Let her know your name and where you from.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm Mia B. Fanning, and I am from Atlanta, East Atlanta,
Eastside,
Stone
Eastside.
Mountain, Stevenson High School. MLK.
Got a little hate in the building already. It's all good, though. It's all good. So look, usually what I do is a little icebreaker. I'm gonna pick a card from this deck, right? I don't know what it's gonna say. I've been through this deck like one time just to look previously, but whatever card I pull, we both gonna answer the question, right?
Okay.
So let's see what it's gonna say. The first card you're gonna pull out. Let's see. Okay. What is something you like that most people don't?
Working.
Working?
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's because I love what I do. So it's funny. A lot of people are like, why you're always on your phone? You're always, creating content, always doing this and that. And I'm like, it's because I love it. Like, I love my job.
That's a good thing. For me,
what about you?
I'll have to say maybe something like root beer. People hate root beer, but I love root beer.
Yeah.
You one of the ones who hate it?
Well, I like it in a float. You don't like floats?
I mean, it depends. I usually get like the floats when you had a family cookout. They'll make like key lime floats and all that stuff. But
yeah.
it's like my root beer plain on ice and nice and cold.
You can have that.
Such a hater. That's what happens when you go to Stevenson. Y'all see that?
Wait a minute now.
That's good. But so we want to get into this conversation today, right? And what I want to do is just take it all the way back to the beginning. Young Mia, growing up, childhood, home, how you grew up. So just take us back to how you grew up and how family was for you in the house growing up.
Well, my father was a pastor. So let me just set the stage right there. I grew up in a very traditional conservative environment. Not like extreme, but we went to church on Sundays and went to Bible study on Wednesdays. Yes, praise the Lord. All is well. But it was very spiritually connected inside of my home. We did normal things like every other family, family vacations, be outside running around till the street lights would come on, and had the classic childhood of any kid growing up in the suburbs. I come from privilege. I definitely come from privilege. I've realized that as I've gotten older, the more you get exposed to the outside world, the more you're like, ooh.
So what is your definition of coming from privilege?
That's a great question. I have never wanted for anything like that I couldn't have. Granted, we didn't have luxury cars or anything like that, but like there was never a time in my household where the bills weren't paid, where the lights were going off, or the water wasn't coming through, like we were cared for. Like I said, we traveled regularly. And I know that that's something that, a lot of people did not grow up with the same experiences that I had.
I'm one of those ones. I was a total opposite. Barely, we traveled, but it was like once every blue moon. Had to struggle. Sometimes the bills were late, stuff cut off. So it's just cool to see like two different sides of the spectrum, seeing how I possibly could have grown up versus how you grown up. So, but since you grew up privileged, how did that shape you or hinder you growing up as an adult? Because I'm pretty sure it has its pros and its cons in that lifestyle. So how did that go for you?
I I got a culture shock or a wake up call when I finally did see like how other people were living. In college, I really thought that everybody had kind of grew up just like me until I started meeting new people, making friends, dating, and like seeing where other people were coming from and like, you know, in the hood. And I'm like, oh my, I've never been to the hood before. And I sound really like, I hope I don't come off as like bougie but I'm aware. I'm aware now. And I did not have that sense of awareness until I got to school. So I was very much in a bit of a bubble. Even though my parents exposed me to things, it didn't click to me until I started seeing people that like I was laughing with in the calf, like, you know, seeing where they actually came from and the struggles that they were facing or the toxic environments, because that's a whole topic right there that they were coming from. And I didn't experience those things. So that was a wake up call. In terms of like how my privilege has helped me, it afforded me my education. I have had no student loans that I'm responsible for. I was blessed. I am blessed. And I know that everybody else, you know, most people can't say that. So I realized that economically I have an advantage over a lot of people. And I try to just, like, I'm so grateful for that my parents were in a position to be able to have me graduate from college and not have to be stressed about loans.
That's true. So socially, did that affect you in some kind of way? They're knowing, well, once you were finally exposed, right, did you try to, well, I'm not from where majority of people come from. Do you try to like seclude yourself a little bit and not act how you usually are? Did it change you in that manner? Or was it just, I'm me, or that's me, you know, this is who I am? Or was it a little, all right, let me kind of like dumb it down a little bit to not stand out as so much?
I come from a household where my father, he always says this. He's like, do not dim your light for anybody.
That's good. Good advice, Pops.
Yeah, that's it. He had some really good words there. And so I let my light shine bright, but I'm also humble. And, you know, I practice humility. So I'm going to be me in every space that I show up in. I don't, there's a topic that just popped in my head. Every space that I show up in, because sometimes we code switch, and I had to go through that when I was working my 9 to 5. But I tend to show up as me, and like, no matter if they're friends, they know who I am. They accept me for who I am and where I come from. And I do the same thing for them too. So
you just spoke on like having a code switch in a 9 to 5. Was it like a predominantly like white environment or 100%.
Black? 100%. It was white. 100%. I went to a PWI college, and then I ended up working at that college after I graduated. And the environment was like maybe 3 of us. Oh man. 4 or 5 at times. I mean, and so that was a wake up call in itself.
Was that like not an identity crisis, but did it? Well, maybe was it? Because that loud said, yeah. Yes. So how was it just being around you just 4 of your own kind, and then everybody else just look totally different, act different? So how did that affect you in that area?
Oh my gosh. It definitely impacted me. And it started before I even got in the 9 to 5 environment. It started when I was a student at the school. So granted, there was a small Black population, and I was with the Black folks, but we were in classes where, you know, it's a majority of white students and professors, and maybe you're not feeling as connected to campus. I
can see that for
sure. Or getting the help that you might get at like a HBCU, you know?
So they were kind of standoffish in that area, or just wasn't there because of your background?
Yeah, and I don't know at that point, did the campus or the school really understand the importance of having that connectivity for the Black students? I don't know if it's improved since then. That was back in 20.
Times have changed for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
We're a little bit more culturally inclusive.
Yeah,
you know, but and no shade to the school, but I think a lot of PWIs struggle with reaching like students of color in those ways.
Why do you think
I was
so?
One of them, because look at leadership.
Facts.
Look at the leaders of these institutions. Do they look like us? Are they diverse? Typically, it's a bunch of white men.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I can see. Well, it's like I put this same perspectives when I go to counseling and stuff for a therapist and stuff like that. Just to still, I'm big on mental health, so I do what I got to do to be able to be mentally tough and mentally strong, right? But a roadblock in that was my first therapist was a white guy. I mean, he was a good therapist, but it was just certain things that I would talk about.
Could he reach you?
Yeah, it was like the response was just almost generic, but he wasn't able to just dive into my issues or traumas because he didn't have that background to understand where some of it could have stemmed from or came from. He just didn't have that connection. So it was just like, wow, it really opened my eyes to where it matters sometimes who you're pouring into, right?
Yes.
And it matters who's pouring into you from being in the same background or not. But a white person may not know their struggle or having a hustle could be totally different from coming from a black neighborhood, having to struggle and hustle, coming with anxiety, depression, and then danger from your own community coming around versus them. Their struggle may be, hey, you didn't get enough pair of Toms this month or something like that. You just never know, right? It's totally different. But so from all of what you were going through growing up, from being, you say, privileged and going to these institutions and, of course, getting your education, how did Mia step or touch into the field of content creation? So how did all this transfer? Did it stem from a child where you was always fascinated with cameras or making childhood videos? Or how did that progress from childhood to where you are now?
Oh, that's a great question, and you're spot on. It definitely started as a kid. I've always been the creative one, the imaginative type person, very innovative. And when I was I'll start like elementary school, just for an example on how the storytelling piece started to come. You know how kids are. We play with toys, and I was a little extreme.
Imagination is wild.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I would have with my Barbies and like all the toys, any toy, it was free game. So stuffed animal, Barbies, anything. I had a whole little world, like my own little world happening with these characters. And I would like tell, bring their stories to life. And then I'd be in the car with my family on road trips, telling these stories that I've created. Yes, I had my own little world. I was the Barbies, and I would even at that point, and it just carried on into like being in middle school where I didn't have the toys with me, but my brain was always creating, like creating stories, creating concepts, dreaming big. So like I've just always been on this trajectory of building or developing something. And when I got to high school, that's when my creativity really got unlocked because I joined the yearbook.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The yearbook club did it for you. How did that happen?
I don't know. How did I got in there like it was an elective, and then I ended up going from like just being a student in the class to like becoming the editor of the yearbook for like 2 years. And so I did yearbook 3 times, 3 years total. But in doing that, when I came, things changed. The themes that we were doing prior to me getting in there were good, but my contribution was a little bit, like I said, over the top, extreme sometimes. We did like a magazine theme, and it wasn't just like your basic magazine. It was like, oh, we're going to go all in. The pictures need to be shot like the magazines that are out there. So extra. And then the senior year yearbook was Once Upon a Time, story time. I've always been fascinated with like fairy tales. And I look back at what I was able to accomplish in yearbook, and it all makes sense in where I'm at right now. It's again, creating content, taking pictures, copywriting, bringing stories to the forefront. So like I've been doing that. And then I graduated from high school and needed to go to college and figure out what my major was going to be. But I was so determined to like not do mass communications in college, which was stupid because I was like, well, if I'm going to school, I didn't want to go to college. I did not want to go. I did not. My parents like had to make me go.
In your household, was that the basic structure where you come from as far as
go to college,
school, college, job? Okay, so at least had the other option. Okay, that's still good. But when you said like when you're on a yearbook club, right, and you felt as if you were doing extra and this and that. Looking back now, do you feel as if you were being extra, or was that really required to create great content? Or do you still feel I was just over the top?
I was being extra.
Okay. So you must be doing some extravagant stuff in high school. Really? Okay. Well, it's all good. But so from that content, now you're specializing in UGC, correct?
Yeah.
So can you explain to the viewers and listeners exactly what that is and what it entails?
Absolutely. So UGC stands for user-generated content. It's been around forever. It's just now popping off to where everybody is talking about it as a form of marketing or an additional side hustle or just it's really it's different from influencer marketing. And if you know influencer marketing, you know that's dependent on like the face and who you are and how you establish yourself online, your social media following, all those things is kind of associated with. But with UGC, what's so special about it, and like I said, it's been around forever, people just don't know, like you're a UGC creator. You sure are. You just hadn't probably, I don't know if you've been getting paid for it or not.
Yeah, not yet. I'm just not getting back trying to unlock all that.
You're a creator, but it's because with UGC, it doesn't depend on your following. It doesn't depend on your level of influence and how you can drive people to make a purchase, like from your own personal social media profile. It is dependent on the content, solely on the content that you create. And then you give it to a brand and the brand runs with it. And that content can be anywhere from like still photography, photos, videos. It can be testimonials. I always use this example. Have you ever gone to like a fast food restaurant and they give you a receipt, and on the receipt it's like, take this survey and you'll get a free chicken sandwich.
I've seen
have
it
you
all
done
the
that?
time. Yep, all the time. I maybe have not done the survey, but I read it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you were to have done the survey and you submit that survey and they have a little box that's just like, do you give us permission to share your testimonial or your photos with the world? And you do that. And then at that point, like you've done UGC and all you got in exchange for it was a chicken sandwich.
Wow.
You didn't get paid.
I never thought about it like that.
So we're all creators.
Okay. So, well, what was your entry level or the entrance into UGC for you? What was the first either project or gigs you worked on to say, hey, this is actually UGC, I can get paid for it, and I'm about to go full throttle ahead to do this. So what was that for you?
Trying to think what my first one was, kind of like stepping away from not stepping away. So let me think. Let me take a second.
Take your time. Take your time. If you may have done a lot. So
yeah, I'm really trying to think because I know that I did a lot with like with tech companies, but it was more so like that was influencing. And then I started looking at, this is probably what happened. So it's not going to quite answer your question, but I'm going to take you on a journey. I started as an influencer and I was already creating content, putting it on my page. What I did was I shifted the way I was looking at the content that I was creating, and I started to see that this is content that whether I'm posting it on my social media page or not, that brands will want to use. I wasn't even thinking at that time about it being UGC. I was literally just creating content off of the whole idea of like, hey, I would post this on my page anyway. But like now, let me take these little clips and actually see, will a brand use them for their social media? So in terms of like a client, and I'm struggling to think of whom would have been that first one.
Well, I guess instead of your first, name your favorite to date.
That I can talk about. Because there's one brand, and I can't wait to share who I'm working with. It's big. It's like
just
my
call
biggest
them
brand
Anonymous.
Brand Anonymous. I was so excited about that one. It hadn't come out yet, so I can't talk about that one. But I can say this, actually. The Hyatt Regency.
Okay.
Which was another big brand.
It is.
That was one of my favorite partnerships, and it was a travel partnership encompassed with like, and you asked, actually, let me stop because you said paid. You said paid, and that was gifted, but it was like a free stay at a luxury hotel for like 4 nights.
So what was that process like? How did it get connected? What did you actually have to do for that to come to fruition and then see the end result for that?
So building your personal brand is the first step to like trying to establish a connection with the brand. And that's whether you're doing it as an influencer or if you're doing it as a UGC creator. Like you should have some kind of presentation. So I'm big on like, are you looking or walking the talk that you're trying to like, present to these brands? If they look at your social media or your website, do you reflect what you're trying to get them to buy into? And so that was important, was building my brand. And so I did that. And then of course, creating content. So a lot of people are like, how do I get into the game? Like I want to work with brands and have these partnerships. And I'm like, well, start with creating content. Act as if you've already got the deals. And that's what I did. Like that was honestly one of the first things that helped kind of start getting people to send me stuff and even presenting the opportunities of paid partnerships. It was just the fact that I got my phone, my dusty phone, and I was creating content. It's dusty. And I started creating content and like, and pitching it. And that was the part. Like you gotta, so you build your relationship or you build your brand. Then you got to start building a relationship, cultivate the relationship with the brands, show people that you're even doing what you're trying to get them, like I said, to buy into. And then in that pitch process, it all comes down to like authenticity if you want to be successful, because brands are getting contacted like every day, all day, all kinds of messages. Like, you run a business and people are like, hitting you up all the time, like,
it happens.
leave me alone. Leave me alone. And that's how the brands feel. So like when you approach them, you have to think like, okay, if this is someone who's seen 15,000 emails today, what's going to make me different? Yeah. Well, did I engage with them on social media first a little bit? Have they seen my name pop up 3 or 4 times? Have I slid up in their DMs to have a little conversation? Okay, just slide on up in there. And then it's like, asking the question or pitching it like, hey, have you guys thought about working with influencers or UGC creators? Like it's so simple, but those little key steps is what will help you like actually make it happen, versus just being spammy. So
do they have, when you're working with other brands, are there certain requirements you have to meet, or is it just really, hey, this is what I got, I'm shooting my shot, you like it or not, this and that? Or do you actually go in there with a game plan of, I know what this brand may want, so let me specifically do this and that? Or is it just, when you first get started, just make some content, UGC, and send it to them? So how does that process actually work?
It's a little bit of all 3 of what you just named. It's a mixture. And you got to also think about the brand and their personality. And like some brands are super social online. Like they welcome everybody. And there's others that's like, they seldomly post, there's a little code. You got to be able to see where they're at and try to meet them where they are. So like, yes, to creating the content, just create always. That's going to be something I'm always going to encourage people to do. But when you're looking to like approach a brand, sometimes it's not wise to slide in the DMs.
Why so?
Again, look at their personality, how they're presenting themselves online. Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it welcoming? Are they even encouraging you to like comment on their stuff and like engage with them in the DMs? Like, are they, or are they just like, because think about it, there's maybe some luxury brands, maybe a little bit more like Chanel, for example. Probably wouldn't slide in Chanel's DMs. I mean, like you could, but I'm just saying like there's another approach that you could take. Maybe you're looking online for who their marketing director is, like on their website, who their social media manager is. Yeah. And then you're connecting with them, whether that's on LinkedIn or like if you found their email address, then you kind of go that route, build a relationship, because they get thousands, millions. Think about how many DMs they're getting on a daily basis. They're flooded with it. Yeah, so like, and it does help if you go the route of like looking at the website and getting that information that way, like the contact info. But the DM approach, this has been very helpful for me, especially with like travel brands and small businesses, because they're probably not getting flooded.
Does that DMs. Works best for you? Like as far as like success rate, do you see more success when you reach out to the number 2, 3, or 4 person, or going directly to the brand itself? So what do you think, if you were to give some advice on that, which one, even though they may play hand in hand, depending, like you say, on the brand, but where have you seen more success in securing a deal or securing a job versus the 2-man, 3-man, 4-man, or going to the source?
So I have seen the most success in the DM approach. I have. I really have. But it also, again, it depends on who you're targeting. So like for some of my bigger partnerships, they are finding me. So I'm not having to like slide into their DMs like that. They're finding me. But it's the smaller ones. Like if I want to, have a vacation to wherever, I can't even think of a name, Chicago. If I want to go to Chicago and stay for like 3 nights or 4 nights, and I'm going to look at either hotels that are out that way or vacation rentals. And I'm going to engage with them on social media first, because I want them. I'm giving y'all so much game right now.
Right. I'm sitting here taking mental notes myself.
And you need to be doing this. Like,
yes,
you need to be doing this. But yeah, so like I would reach out to these companies and like a couple of their posts and like try to engage and be authentic. Like I'm not doing this to everybody, so like, don't be spammy, but like reach out. Talk about what you like about the property. Present the idea, because some of these people running these accounts haven't even thought about how this can help them. And it's up to you to show them how it can be beneficial. And this is where like having a portfolio, remember when I said create the content?
Yes, ma'am.
Create. If you have all this content that you've created, like that resembles this travel-based brand, like show them the content. So they can see themselves in what you're trying to like offer them.
That's a good point. There are, I won't call them like low-level brands, but they may just have a basic process of how they're promoting and marketing their business. But someone like you really can come along and spark that light bulb, like, man, this is some dope content. And now that's just either a bigger opportunity for you or a bigger bag for you. So, but when you're making your content, right, how judgmental are you when you look back at what you're saying? Are you like this, that if it's not perfect, it's not going, or not saying settle for good enough, but just how crucial are you when you judge your own content before you send it off or shoot your shot with people?
Have you seen my content?
I have.
You know I don't care.
I know you don't. I know you don't. You know, the past few videos, you were just like, man, you know what? I'm just about to do it. And this is me. But it's good to be free spirit in that way, because like you say, it shows them your personality and who you are and your vulnerability, right? And they may connect even more to that because you're just expressing yourself. But so it's like on a 1 to 10, are you just that? Well, you say you don't care, but if you had to number it, what would you be at in content judgment for yourself?
Okay, content judgment for myself right now, like 10 being the...
I guess the most critical. That's the hardest, the most critical on yourself.
Okay, 0.
Wow.
I'm at a point in my life, if you had asked me this question 2 years ago, completely different. But right now, like, I love the way that I'm showing up online. I love it. It feels authentic. It's to my core. And so, like, even my flaws, even when I've completely just messed up and like last night, I accidentally posted a video that I didn't add the captions to. I didn't edit. Like, I was just looking at it and I accidentally pressed share. And I was just like, well, let's just see how this works out.
That is good you're at that space. Because, well, so what changed? Because when you said, if I were to ask you 2 years ago versus now, there had to been something in the middle to where you had to say, let me stop doing this to myself or this and that to get to this point to where, you know what? It is what it is. This is me. I'm showing up as me, whether you like it or not. So what was that pivotal moment that made you just sit back and give yourself that talk or whatever it was to switch to that mindset?
Okay, so there were 2 things. First one, so, you know, my father passed.
Sorry to hear that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, so him passing woke me up in ways that I couldn't have even imagined a couple years ago. And it made me start to look at myself and the things that I was doing and the person that I had been prior. I was looking at me differently, and I was like, is this me? Is this the me that I want people to know? And I started really thinking even more critically on my legacy, which I'd already been focused on. But now I was just like, who do I want? Like, how do I want to be remembered? And is this real? Is this authentic to my core? And who is Mia? Not who is Charles Benefield's daughter, Mia, the pastor's kid. You know, so that was one of the pieces that in my mind was working. And then I had been on Instagram for years, you know, doing the same old thing, you know, just trying to grow my brand. And I had a couple videos that would go viral. I had clients coming in. It was good. But I said, you know what? I've done Instagram. I've, quote unquote, semi-mastered it. Now it's time to focus on another platform. This shift changed the game. You know what platform I went to?
TikTok?
Oh, I sure did. Because guess what? They don't care on TikTok. People don't care. It's just like, it's carefree, and you just post and you go and you have fun, and it's a community. And like, I started just feeding into TikTok and all of the content that I was posting on TikTok, I just started repurposing over to Instagram and was like, I don't even care if Instagram doesn't like this content. I'm going to give it to them. And I started doing that, and I felt like the shackles of the Instagram police and algorithm and all the things you're supposed to do on the gram to grow, it just like fell off of me.
It's tough to get out of that, because I know even with me, just being a content creator, it's like you want to do your due diligence and do your research and look at the algorithm and see what do I need to do to go viral. But things have changed so much. And again, TikTok was that game changer. When that came out, of course, my first thought was, TikTok is for kids, it's for young people. So it took a while to even try to open that app and use it, because all you seen was the kids and this and that. But it just took for over and over the people to say, go to TikTok, go to TikTok. And especially Gary Vee, he shoved that down my throat so much as watching his content hit TikTok. So that was when I started to really look at it to use it as a different route of marketing and branding. But going through that journey of that change, were you going through anything like mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? Like, were there any roadblocks to where you was like, you know what? I give up. I don't want to do this anymore. Forget content. I'll go do this and that. So do you have any of those moments throughout your journey?
For sure. Never a moment where I thought about quitting. Never that. But my mental has been messed up since he passed. And to this day, and I do not want to be emotional because my makeup looks so good. To this day, like, I'm still going through the aftermath of him passing. And then the crazy thing is, shortly after he did, not even a year, my aunt, who's like a mother to me as well, she passed too. So it was like two pivotal figures in our family stripped away from us, and like life has been crazy. And so mentally, I have not been okay. And I almost feel like I'm that term functioning depressed person. That's me.
Just still getting through day-to-day, knowing what you're going through behind closed doors.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, but we've been trained and conditioned in my family, and I believe just in the Black culture, to push through.
Yep. Put that mask on and keep going.
That's what we do in the workforce. That's what we do in our relationships, our households. Like, that's what we do. And so that's what I've been doing. But it has been a struggle. And there are days where I'm like, I just want to lay in the bed and be under a blanket and I don't want nobody to talk to me. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
So how do you get through that? What is your mental process or the steps you take to say, let me get back to my woosah and come down in a place of mental peace, like meditation, prayer, taking walks? What is Mia's formula to gather herself to get back on path and get that motivation and dedication back going and discipline?
Okay. So this is the funny part. Remember when you asked me earlier, like, what do you like to do that most people don't like to do? So work. And it sounds really bad when I say it out loud, but again, it's creating content, and this can be any kind of content, gives me a sense of joy, whether it's music, and that was one of the things that I tapped into this last.
We're going to get to that too. I seen you.
Whether it's music or making, TikToks and reels and like that sparks happiness in me. Of course, shopping and traveling, those are things.
So those are given, huh?
Yeah, and like self-care, going to the spa, stuff like that definitely helps. But in those moments where I'm just like leave me alone and let me just be, that's literally what I need, is to be left alone.
So you're not a type to like get secluded and quiet if something going on. You just pretty much let me do something as far as work. What are you using work to suppress those emotions, or is it just real legit like work is just what is just going to fulfill me, or is it a coping mechanism to what you're going through?
I think it's a little of both, honestly. Like, yeah, I would say both. Because I love what I'm doing, but I'm also like, I keep busy because it allows me to not have to think about reality as much too. And so it can be good or bad, but that's where I'm at right now.
That's cool. I mean, everybody has their ways to get through their traumas and troubles. Like for me, I'm a person where if something's going on, like they know it, you'll see it in my face and I'll shut down and get quiet. 'Cause I'm a thinker, so it's just, excuse me, how I process stuff. I really got to think about it, kind of strategize and get through. So I find myself stretching myself very thin because I love to work as well, but it's just like, because I know where I want to go in life and my goals, it's hard to not do the work. I know it takes this work to get there. So when people say, take a break, relax, like yeah, but it's just not what for, but it's going to take me that much longer
to get to your goal.
Get this job done when I'm not sitting here focused, locked in, being disciplined, being consistent with what I'm doing. So working is just one of those things to where I don't have time to party. I don't have time to club. If anything, you catch me at a bar for an hour or two and I'm back at home, laptop working back open, working. It's just a quick breather. But other than that, I'll go for a walk, go to a lake and probably throw a rod out, fish a little bit, just sit there for a quiet and a peace of mind. But things like that are very important to just get your mental balance back to be able to get through life, right? So I encourage anybody who's listening or watching to find you something to do to help you get through those tough times to get through your life. But back to you. So, right, you've I don't know how long you've been singing, all right? You just brought that up. So how did that come about for that, I guess, jump from UGC to including singing? So you want to make a career out of it, or is it just a hobby right now for you?
This is definitely going to be another addition to my...
Okay, then, to the repertoire.
Yes. It's funny because as a child, I could always like sing.
Oh, so it was in you already.
Yeah, but it was never developed. I wasn't really in, voice lessons or like in a choir much. Like,
I was just about to ask that. Were you in a church choir?
Yeah, I really wasn't. And even though, I'm like, I grew up in the church, but that gift was not developed. And my mom kind of had a fear, still probably does, of the industry. And like, she's like, you don't want to go mainstream and do all this and that.
What's the biggest fear?
Just, that it can be dark And it can be.
Mama's right. Mama's
there's
right
no
about
lie
that.
to it. Yeah, it can be dark, and that those contracts and lawyers and all the
right about
to
that
sell
too.
your soul and all that, and it's real. It is real. But so that was kind of like her concern, and a part of me feels like maybe that was one of the reasons why that gift of mine was never really pushed to the forefront as a child. And I was not like, when going through college, I wasn't thinking about music. I wasn't like doing any of that. What made me get to this point where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Was that shift. Like I said, Dad died. And I was in a different kind of place mentally. I was working. I had clients. I took one trip with a client, and it was my first time like flying first class. And like, it was just, I got exposed to some new things, new ways of thinking. And that experience, like once I came from that trip, and while I was on the trip, actually on the plane, I was writing. Like I was writing 2 songs had been written by the time I got off the plane, and I hadn't done that before. Like I always had thought about the idea of like, I should write a song. So that was actually
his first time writing a song.
I was sitting in first class, and I was like,
first class, first nice. Song makes sense, right?
Like, this is nice, and so it sparked my creativity and my push. And then I got home. I was like hitting, producers up and was like, hey, I need a beat. I need this. I need that.
Okay,
and let's go and get to it. And I didn't think twice about it. It was just like, let's just do it and see what happens. And because I was in that state, like I said, showing up with my TikToks, just like, I don't care anymore. Like, let's just see what happens with life, because you only got one life to live. And that's what pushed me into this next stage of my life where I'm about to.
So do you plan the first thing is going to be just a single or an album for a project, EP? What you think?
Well, the first thing we're going to do is release a single.
Got you.
And then we're going to see what happens.
Is it already done?
Yep, it's done. It's in mixed and mastered.
You out here working already.
I be moving. So, and I don't know how much of what I can talk about too. So that's kind of why I'm like stepping around. But it is mixed and mastered. And hopefully, I think maybe today or tomorrow, I'll have the official version. We got the cover art.
So when should we looking forward to be released? When should we see it?
July. It'll be July. Probably the end of July.
Oh, you're going to make everybody wait for it.
I might let y'all hear it before we leave.
You doing any visuals for it? Oh, I definitely want to hear it before we leave. You already done said it now, so you got to hear it. Plan on doing visuals?
Yeah, definitely going to do some visuals. I haven't done it yet, so that's like these next couple weeks. Once I take these braids out and get my hair done, then I can do some visuals. But yeah, I mean, to promote the track, it's a necessity at this point, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it's dope to see that you're not just a one-track, one-minded person. It's multifaceted. So you got your UGC and also singing. So what do you think is going to carry the most weight for you? Strictly just content, or you about to really just jump into the music industry and try to make that the main thing for you? Which is more, I guess, important right now for you?
I believe that the music is what's going to really help push everything else to the forefront. And that's the thing that's going to make the most noise. Okay. And so that will not only help like on the music side, but it'll help with my content agency. It'll help with the students trying to learn how to do UGC, people who need help learning how to build their brand, like all these different things that I've been creating and or curating all this time. Like that music is going to help drive people to pay attention to the educational resources that I've been trying to create. Facts. And I believe that's what's going to help all of these things kind of like think it pop off.
Help or hinder the creation of your content though? Because music takes a lot of work, it does. Focus, especially when things get going for you, you know, rehearsal, studio sessions, practice. So do you think it's going to help you more, it's going to hurt you, or you think you have a good hand on the balance it's going to take to get both of those done at the same time?
I believe that I will be able to manage it in some way. I don't know how and what that looks like, but I also know I'm going to need a team. Facts. I am going to need a team, but like creating content is so easy for me now. Like it is so easy.
Second nature.
Second nature. And it doesn't require much, like, because I'm not thinking of it as this complicated thing, which is what a lot of people do, is like they overthink their content. Everything is content, as you know. Yeah. Which is why when I came up in here, I'm like, let's get these shots, throw that thing together.
Right. Because it's easy. Nowadays, it's just the restrictions of what's content and what's not has been broken. That barrier was pretty much gone, because once you only had TV, film, the news, that was just the path you would take, not take those paths, but what you would try to copy and do, put it out just like that. But now because of social media, and again, UGC, you're free to do whatever you want, because now it's like we have the power a little bit more over the industry and the businesses. Without us, what are they, right? They need the people. They need the consumers to get their product, to make that content, to help them push and push and push and keep going. So now we have the power and it's our hands. So good luck to y'all. But for me, right, so what do you have going on now that you want to, get any announcements or that you have to promote to the people listening and watching right now? So I personally have seen it, know, but in case they don't know, let them know what you got going on, because it's big. And I've seen it and it's beautiful too.
That. I was like, what else do I have going on? I have so much.
Yeah. Let it all. Let them know it's all
For
good.
real. I was like, we talked about music. We talked about it. But yeah, so we have the content house that is.
That's what I'm ready to hear about. Yeah.
Yep. It's in East Atlanta, Stone Mountain, not far from Stevenson High School.
You stay in the area for sure.
It's been a project. It's been a blessing in seeing it develop. I've teamed up with my brother, and we've made a whole bunch of mistakes, but we've also got a whole bunch of other things right.
Mistakes is the best teacher.
Exactly. I mean, the renovation process in itself of like trying to take a house that was in decent shape, but just not really ready for like people to come through and like create. Trying to get that in position has been a journey, but well worth it. I think we have about maybe somewhere between like 5 to 7 sets in the house. Yeah, and and I designed all of them. Like I'm not a decorator.
And doesn't that feel good though? It's like, you know, you took your time to build this thing, and you're responsible for doing it. Just like my vision in my head is now out here in the real world. Like it's tough to find real visionaries to be able to say, "Hey, I dreamt this, I thought of this, what the God put it in my mind or not." But now I can draw it as ugly as I want to see on paper, but when you finally see the fruition of it, it is here. But that is dope. So what influenced you, or what made you really want to open up a content house? Like what was that groundbreaking decision where like, hey, this is needed, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it? So where did that start?
I always knew, like when I started House of Bequest, that I wanted to have a content studio. I didn't know it was going to be a house, but I always knew. I was like, I want to create a place where creatives can come and create content, tell their stories, like where it's just easy. Easy, you just show up and like there's help. So like if people wanted to work with me directly, then they can work with me. Or if they just want the space for themselves to come in and do their thing. Like I always wanted that. So it was always a part of the dream. I just didn't realize that it would happen when it did. And that, even that is as bittersweet as it is a reflection of my aunt passing. I didn't buy that house. It was an opportunity, and I seized it. And
we just got done talking about seizing opportunities. I promise you, before you came. I promise you.
Look at God. He working on.
Promise
He
you.
working. But yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to be in this position where like that's happening right now, and I'm gonna run with it and see what we can do with it while it's available. And we'll go from there. It's
gonna go up for sure. I know it is. It's gonna go up because again, I got the photos I've seen. It's beautiful inside of there.
Thank you.
I'm definitely gonna come book you and see it in person. I promise you I will, because when I seen it, I'm like, man, I've been following the journey from seeing you painting and building stuff and putting this and that up, but just seeing from the start.
Those cabinets.
Right. That's the first video I had seen you explaining about those cabinets. But everything looking good though from what I'm seeing. But I definitely want to see it in person though, to get the real feel of the feng shui and the ambiance inside of the house. So
I love it.
I'm sure it's beautiful. But so right now, if you could speak to young Mia, right, before you grew into the woman you are today, before you have the knowledge you have now, what would you tell her to get her to either back to where you are now or to a better point in life? So what would you tell yourself?
Enjoy the journey.
That's good.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything about my journey. While I hate like that my dad's not here anymore, lost my aunt, like I hate these things. Like I truly believe that I'm where I'm supposed to be in this season of my life.
God don't make no mistakes when you put you in those seasons.
Exactly. And it's like, it sucks. I mean, I've been mad at God. We've been fighting. We have been fighting. We're going to still fight a little bit more.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
That's how you build that relationship too. It's like when I treat God, that's my homie,
Right.
And I learned even through prayer, right? Prayer and fasting, just not to sit down and just, pray for all the things you just want, right? The same thing over and over, but versus like talking to him as if that's your best friend, whether you cry, whether you yell, You may let out a couple of curse words every now and then, but it's like he still loves you anyways, right? But he wants that relationship with you to be like, hey, I can come to you about anything as your Heavenly Father. So it's just, and that's also helped me in my career, just being able to go take on that journey to actually and consciously grow with him. It changed my life, especially fasting. I've seen so much come out of the end of a fast. It's crazy. And I also learned to where I don't do it now to receive that, but it just helped me build a saying no to the temptation, saying no to things I don't need to do. So it changed my mind growing up as a man to where if you feeling like you down and out and you kind of off track, starve your flesh to the max without killing yourself. Because some people do, let me be Jesus and go 40 days of just water, but consult your doctors first. But nonetheless, fasting is a game changer. It clears your mind. Whatever impurities you may have going on inside, it just dilutes you of all of that stuff. And you'll be surprised at the revelation you will hear through whether you do it for 3 days, 4 days, or a week. But if you're really intentional with it, you're going to hear back. God will speak to you through people, through messages, through signs, through songs, whatever you may hear. But when you fast, you have that clarity and all those distractions are going to hear and to propel you in life. So, but what you just said you're going to tell yourself was great advice. What I want you to do now is just speak to someone who maybe listen to this podcast, or viewing this podcast, who wants to walk into your shoes or in your path to be the maybe king of UGC now, the queen, the princess, jack of all trades. So how would you guide them into creating better content, or to even getting to the point where you are now in their career, and to give them the motivation to not quit and to keep going?
It's not going to be easy. You're going to be so frustrated at times. You're going to want to quit. You want to throw in the towel. You're going to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. When you're in that moment, take a second, step back, breathe, and get it together. Get it together and keep going. Because if you quit, you're going to look back one day and you're going to be like, dang, I was this close. One thing I like to tell people, especially when it comes to creating content, you could be one video away from going viral and your life could just change in a second. One video. And watch it be the one that you decided not to post. The one that you just were like, this isn't good enough. Nobody's going to like this. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't do that. And I would say, for business, don't be afraid to ask for help. Help is always wanted. What is it with Hogwarts? Help me. Who's a Harry Potter fan?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of movies, but
given to people at Hogwarts. Help me. You know what I'm trying to say. Dang, I couldn't get it out. But yeah, help is out there. Like, help is available, and you don't know everything. So like seeking a business coach, mentors, connecting with like-minded individuals, like these are things that are going to help you be successful in the long term. And when in doubt, trust your gut, be authentic, show up as yourself 100% in your content, and don't overthink this stuff. It's not that difficult.
A1 advice. So we're going to wrap it up. But before you leave, just tell them they can follow you on Instagram, social media, and any announcements you want to announce to the people. So
you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the handles at Mia B. Fanning. You can also check out my artist page at That Girl Be Fan.
Let's get it.
Hey, because we got something special coming in July. So y'all stay tuned. Oh my God, I cannot wait to talk about it. You might have to bring me back just so we can talk about it.
Let's do it.
And that's really it. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of resources on my profiles, but I don't want to overwhelm you. If you like my vibe and this energy, come check me out.
Y'all make sure y'all check it out. The vibe and energy is great. So look, I want to thank y'all for watching. Make sure you follow me on all social media at Sir Gates BC across the board. And tune into the Inherited Podcast and follow that on all social media. NHERITD. That is NHERITD Inherited. And thank y'all for tuning in. And y'all have a good one. Salute. Until next time. We out.